Welcome back to the Spoonie and Caregiver Life podcast with me, your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? Now, September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and I have wanted to share a story close to my heart for a long time. I wanted to share what I have learned about suicide during the last 4 years, because many of you guys know that my wife is quite sick. As I mention it almost daily. Probably you get tired of hearing it, but that's my way of trying to bring awareness to my wife's conditions. But I haven't gone into a lot of detail because I didn't know how to put it into words until now. So here's my story. On January 21st, 2017, my life changed forever. My wife had a mental breakdown. This was totally unexpected. We were not expecting it. She didn't get a warning sign. I didn't see it. So there's no telltale signs. I just want to let that out there. In my wife's situation, we had only been married for 2 years, a little bit over 2 years. So we were technically newlyweds. She had recently started a business about a year before and worked a ton of hours at her day job and at her company now. When I say working, I mean 21 hours a day. She was a workaholic. I couldn't stop her. She will work when I was at work and then after I went to bed. And probably you might know somebody like that. But my wife was in antidepressants for a long time. She has been for a long time. Even before we got married. As she has a history of depression. I believed at the time that she was taking her medication, but found this not to be true. She had a miscommunication with her doctor's office, and they were having trouble filling her primary medication for her depression. And she went 7 days without it. I wanted to share this part because I have seen a lot of people that are going through something like this because of miscommunications, and if you always have a miscommunication, it's better to just go to the office if your doctor allows it because of everything that's going on. So just let your doctors know exactly what's going on because the story gets worse from this point on. So in my wife's case, with the abrupt stop in medicine, her depression spiraled. And when I say a spiral, I mean it went down the rabbit hole. She has been going at it for 4 years, pretty much. So this morning, she came out to the kitchen sink and began scrubbing it. She just kept scrubbing it, getting crazier and crazier as she went. I remember talking to her and her saying that she was feeling sad. I looked at her and I was trying to be funny or trying to joke. And I said, I hope you're not having a mental breakdown. I don't know what I said. I didn't even know what I was saying because back then my English wasn't as good. So I didn't know what exactly I was saying. It's just something that I heard. So at this point, she wouldn't let go of the sponge and started crying uncontrollably, almost wailing. So I sat her on the couch and I tried to give her medicine, but I couldn't find it. And that's when I realized she had no medication and what was going on. Because of my wife not able to stop crying, I didn't know what to do. So I called 911. I told them the issue with the medications, and they asked me if my wife was a danger to herself, which she wasn't. And I told them I didn't think so. But they sent the cops to our home for some reason anyways. And that's a completely different episode because there's more to that story now that I remember. So the ambulance ended up taking my wife to the hospital, and this is where I got a glimpse of how bad depression and mental health issues are, and how the healthcare system is not adequate enough for situations like this. The doctor in the ER pretty much told my wife that she was looking for pills and that they wouldn't give her any medications. My wife was very incoherent, but kept trying to explain the situation about missing her antidepressants for so many days. She literally was trying to tell him exactly what had happened, and he wouldn't listen. After the doctor left the room, my wife said to me, "I'm done. Nobody understands." At that moment, I was so scared because I didn't know what to do or say. And while I was trying to figure out what to do, like what words I need to tell the doctor, how to talk to the doctor, my wife grabbed her oximeter cord and wrapped it around her neck and tried to hang herself. It was like she had the strength of 10 men. She was going for it and was not letting go. I never in my life thought that I would have to save my wife from herself in a hospital. When I saw that, the only thing that I could think of was to get the cord from her. She fought back, but in the end, I got the cord away from her. And then, of course, the staff came running, and then it was an emergent situation. Then they took her seriously. And I'm like, it took my wife almost killing herself in a hospital for someone to listen. In a hospital. The doctor said she did it for attention and sent her for her first of many inpatient psych visits. My wife literally broke that day. She has never been the same since. When my wife did this, it was the first time I had witnessed a suicide attempt, so I was pretty much in shock. I was like, what is going on? After she was released from the hospital, I realized that she will need a lot of help, and this was the day I became her caregiver. This is the day that I became her Superman. That's what she calls me. Now, my wife has had horrible days with depression. There have been days where I didn't know if she will be alive when I came home from work. We have also dealt with multiple other attempts since. Suicidal ideation has been an ongoing issue over the last 4 years. Life has been challenging behind closed doors because we're kind of the same type of person that is like, oh, I don't want to tell anybody my problems. We were like that. But now we're sharing our struggles so others understand that you guys are not alone. But here's the most important thing about my story is that my wife is a fighter. I'm not saying nobody else is a fighter. You just have to find that fighter in you. She has been able to get in with the right doctors after hours on my part and many failed attempts at visits with underqualified doctors to take on her case. And when I say after hours, I meant to say after hours of research on my part, because I like to see what kind of doctor we're gonna go into now, so I can prepare as to what do I need to do next. Most importantly, she has taught me about depression and suicide. It is not the easy way out. Some of the most important things that I have learned from her are this. For most, it's the only option that people feel they have left. Most get told they don't need help, like the ER doctor said. They get ignored or overlooked by the medical field, or they fall prey to a completely false professional opinions. Or they feel like a burden, which is not true. Everyone has value and something to give back. Another thing that I have learned is that if people don't feel heard, their loneliness will overtake their lives and make their depression worse, to the point where they feel they have no option but to end their lives. They sometimes literally feel worthless. I've seen it with my wonderful wife. And to me, I think that this has to end. We have to stop the stigma surrounding mental health. Now, I share this because I see story after story of people taking their lives. We must do better as a society and humankind together, because nobody deserves to feel alone, especially with everything that is going on. So that's pretty much my story that I have wanted to share for a long time, but like I said, I didn't have the words until now. That's why I have talked about this, that sometimes it's just okay to write how you feel, and then you can just put it together in a story. Now, I do want to leave you with this, because as you have seen, I have dealt with this, and I don't want anybody to go through this alone. So if you feel depressed or have suicidal ideation, don't forget that there's help out there. And also, you can call them at 1-800-273-8255. It's the National Suicide Prevention Line. They can actually listen to you. And that was pretty much today's episode. I really, really appreciate you guys' feedback. Thanks to you, I have been able to open up about what has happened in my life, what I have had to deal with, or what I have learned from all of this, which is important. So thank you, and thank you for all the support, all the new supporters, all the new listeners. Thank you. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And also don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so we can keep growing. That way people don't feel alone, because there's a community out there. And if you want to share your story, you can send it to me anonymously at the Spoonie and Caregiver life@gmail.com, or you can post it on our community on Facebook, the Spoonie and Caregiver community never mind. So I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself and have a great day.